Households like to consume goods and services, but to produce those goods and services, natural resources must be used. Some natural resources, such as solar energy, forests, and fish, are renewable. Other resources, such as oil and coal, are fixed in supply and can be used only once. In this lecture, we will primarily concentrate on oil and the energy economics of producing alternatives to produce products for consumers. We will look at a bit of data in this lecture and review key theories. We'll describe the current price of gasoline and oil. We'll describe the mix of energy resources consumed in the United States. Discuss why running out of oil would not mean running out of energy. And look at extraction or evaluation extraction methods for renewable and non-renewable resources. Today in the United States, the average person is living longer and is enjoying a higher standard of living when compared to the 1800s. These two factors mean that human beings are consuming vastly more resources than before the Industrial Revolution, in both absolute and per capita terms. Larger populations mean greater demand for resources, but perhaps not the same resources. Here is one resource that is being consumed in large quantities today. The price of gasoline at the pump is arguably the most visible energy-related statistic in the United States. We see the metric every day as we drive around town. The current price reflects the growing demand for crude oil and increasing supply and production from all producers. Demand and supply at work again. The price of regular gas at the pump has fluctuated over time. In the last 7 years, it has reached a high of $4.10 per gallon to a low of $1.59, a fairly wide swing. This swing has significant influence on the types of vehicles that consumers buy and lease in the market. As mentioned, the price at the pump is related to demand and supply, and specifically related to the price of crude oil per barrel. You can see on this graph the previous time series on gasoline prices in blue. The price of West Texas crude oil per barrel, an industry cost metric, is shown as the orange time series. The cost per barrel has also fluctuated significantly, from a high of $140 per barrel to a low of $26 per barrel. The price at the pump is directly influenced by crude oil costs. Crude oil costs also influence the cost of many products purchased today. This is a busy chart, so let's walk through it. In the United States, coal, oil, and natural gas comprise the largest sources of energy production and consumption. In 2016, these fossil fuels represented 77.9% of production, as you can see on the top line of the second section on mix. These resources are non-renewable. The first column on the chart reflects figures in 1950, when non-renewables comprised 91.6% of energy production. Nuclear power and renewables have more than doubled since 1950. Overall, the United States is importing more energy than is being produced locally. You can see at the bottom of the chart that our net imports, while down from 2007, are still positive. The big energy producing states are shown at the bottom. You can view the latest detail in the data section of the module. The United States is becoming more efficient in their use of energy. This chart shows the amount of goods and services produced per 1 million BTUs of energy. Thus, we have been using more energy, but we're producing more with it. Energy technology has played a significant role here. So, looking forward, technology improvements have the potential to allow for more output and improve standard of living without more energy inputs. We can also see this efficiency by looking at per capita energy use. Per capita energy use increased from 1950 through 1970s. Since then, it's remained relatively flat. Since 1990, total energy consumption has increased by an average of only 1% a year, less than the growth in real GDP. The mix of energy sources plays a role in energy efficiency in a number of different ways here. Let's just specifically look at electricity. Electricity generation is a good example of a diverse mix. Electricity companies need this diverse mix in order to provide consistent power to homes and businesses. Massive changes in energy demand occur over the course of the day. Imagine household demand is extremely low at night when people are sleeping. Factories produce output during the day and night. The problem for electric companies is to minimize the cost of providing for such large variations in the demand for electricity. Getting energy from one source to create the proper level of electricity supply may lead to overinvestment to get the scale required. So, I want you to imagine this chart here and imagine that energy is only done from coal, or only done from nuclear, or only done from natural gas. The level and scale of investment that you would need to accomplish that objective, including the regional objectives, they're fairly significant. They are fairly significant. So, they solve the problem. They solve the problem by getting a range of inputs from various energy sources, using multiple potential economies of scale to deliver the lowest cost mix. That's technology and innovation. For electric companies overall, the largest three input sources are coal, natural gas, and nuclear. Natural gas has overtaken coal as the largest source in 2016. In 2012, renewables made up 14% of supply. However, renewables have not grown significantly through 2016. Some economists worry that we may soon be running out of energy. Their fear is that we will run out of oil in the next century. This lecture is not intended to debate this potential outcome. What we can say is that if we do run out of oil, we will run out of cheap energy. There are alternatives. There are renewable sources, these will be discussed later, and other fossil and food fuels like natural gas, corn, sugar, and biodiesel. Yet given current technology and the price of crude, these are expensive to extract and process. Additionally, not all energy sources have the same environmental impacts and externality costs. Coal is a prime example of alternative energy with an environmental cost. At low electricity prices, electric companies may not be able to afford pollution reduction technology. At higher electricity prices, these technologies are affordable. There is a way to burn clean coal, but it requires significant investment and high electricity prices to make it work. So, running out of energy? Probably not. Running out of cheap energy going down the road? Yes. So alternatives need to be developed over time. Alternative energy sources become investment efficient when the price of crude oil reaches higher levels. Shown here are the various alternative fuels that become economical at an equivalent price of crude oil per barrel. Today, the price of barrel of crude is about $51 per barrel. Thus, there are many alternative fuels that could be developed, like converting natural gas to liquid and coal to liquid. Likewise, extracting oil from shale is also economical. Yet there are two keys here. There are alternatives, just more expensive. And investment in the alternatives depends upon sustained prices, not just 1 year's worth of gain. Crude prices were high during the recent recovery through 2014, but have recently been below the current $51 per barrel. If we get back to $80 per barrel on a sustained basis, then investment in alternatives will come. Until then, it's unlikely. And that's the reason why I showed the charts I did at the beginning, is that you can see there are fairly wide fluctuations in the price of crude. And when you have those types of fluctuations in the price of crude, you get economists at these companies trying to determine when to make that investment. When will oil reach those levels on average on a sustained basis and not just go up 1 year and down the next? I think it's an important long-run consideration. We're going to take a look at one of those examples at the end as it pertains to crude oil, so you see what I mean. Okay, but it's about sustained prices to make that investment to get the return. And as business students, I think that you can understand that. How do companies view the economics of extracting and harvesting natural resources? First, they view renewable and non-renewables differently. The benefits from harvesting renewables, like forests and wildlife, can be enjoyed in perpetuity if harvested in moderation and restocked. Solar energy and wind-generated energy availability is always there, but requires significant investment to leverage. The benefits of non-renewable resources, like oil and metals, are evaluated with present value methods to determine the cost versus the benefits, or the cost versus the potential revenue. Non-renewables must be mined or pumped from the ground before they can be used. The lead time and investment levels are high, and there is a fixed amount at a particular location. Price is uncertain and, as we've seen, quite variable. An extraction company's goal is to pick the right extraction technique that will maximize the potential stream of profits. Should they produce today or wait until sometime in the future and extract then? There is an opportunity cost. If you extract and sell the resource today, you cannot do so in the future. Resource economists call this user cost. If the companies believe that global economic growth will be strong in the future, that China will consume more, or Europe will grow faster, then it will encourage less extraction today, because the price is going to go up in the future, and you only get one shot at it. Technically speaking, many companies lease the land with the resources on it as part of their cost strategy. Long leases are great and allow much more extraction strategy. Short leases obviously they're cheaper, but short leases can eliminate the opportunity to maximize long-term profits. It's complex, but don't worry. Oil companies have done a good job of making profits with the right extracting approach over the last couple of decades. Resource economists look at policies that maximize the company's net benefits, or total revenue earned less the cost of extraction. Do we extract today or tomorrow? Assume that today's price is $50 per barrel, and the total cost of extraction is $20 per barrel, yielding a profit of $30. Also assume that the company owns the land or has a lease that extends significantly into the future. Due to industry demand and supply forces, assume that the price of oil in 5 years will grow to $70 a barrel and the cost at $25, yielding a profit of $45 per barrel. However, the company must consider the time value of money in the comparison, as they will only begin to generate this profit in 5 years. Assuming a 5% interest rate, the discount factor, the value of the $45 profit today is $35 per barrel. Best decision is for the company to wait. And this helps ensure that resources are allocated to their best possible use over time. Could this near-term decision of waiting influence the price of gas at the pump today? Yes, it could, but this is the way that those energy companies would make the decision about extracting today versus waiting 5 years and extracting then. Let's conclude by taking a look at a shorter lease period. The company assumed has a 2-year lease on a piece of land and are reasonably sure that the price will be higher in year 2. In order to determine, it needs to determine how much it extracts in year 1 and how much it extracts in year 2. This graph represents year 1 extraction cost, the blue line, and user or opportunity cost, leading to a total cost curve of TC, the orange line. Given these conditions, the firm will only extract the output of Q1, shown at the bottom, or point B on the price curve. Why? Any higher production, meaning any higher production beyond Q1 as you move to Q0, would generate less overall profit for the 2 years. If they produced at Q0 and at point A, they would be foregoing profit that could be earned in year 2, represented by the red line. So they go through this. How long is the lease? What's the price and cost today? What's the price and cost in the future? How much do we take out now? How much do we take out in the future? Because they only get one shot at extracting that resource and selling it. And so the two examples that I've given on the previous chart and the one here graphically kind of gives you an idea of the mentality that resource economists go through in terms of their overall extraction strategy and go-to-market strategy for non-renewable resources. Finally, I want to touch upon a point about economic growth and the environment. Is economic growth bad for the environment? It appears not. A Yale University study concluded that richer countries do produce and consume more, but also spend more to maintain the environment and earn higher scores on a measure of environmental quality, or the EPI index. Switzerland earns the highest EPI score at 76.7. The United States is 49th at 56.6. Poorer countries like India score below 40. So here at the end, we've covered a number of different topics. I'd like to close by saying, one, the mix of energy resources that we have in the United States probably helps us to achieve a lower average cost, especially in the example that I've given for electricity. Will we run out of energy? No. Will we run out of cheap energy without oil? Yes, and we need to develop alternatives as we move through time. And then finally, in the case of non-renewables, the time period, the extraction method and of present value is what resource economists use to determine when they should extract to maximize the overall profit of the firm.